The hidden meaning behind Aemond's Harrenhal dream. House of the Dragon, Episode 7, explained. Spoiler warning before we begin, this video contains major spoilers for House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 7. We'll be discussing Aemond's disturbing dream at Harrenhal, Alys Rivers' mysterious role, the meaning behind the line, "I will give you a son," and what this vision could reveal about Aemond's future. With that said, let's get started. One of the most disturbing moments in House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 7 doesn't happen on a battlefield or during a dragon fight. Instead, it happens inside Aemond's mind. While staying at the cursed castle of Harrenhal, Aemond shares an intimate moment with Alys Rivers. But suddenly, reality begins to unravel. Alys transforms into Alicent, his own mother. She whispers words that completely change the scene. "I will give you a son." It's unsettling, confusing, and unlike anything we've seen before in the series. Was this simply a nightmare? A prophecy? Alys Rivers' magic? Or was Aemond finally confronting the deepest parts of his own mind? The truth is, this scene isn't just designed to shock viewers. It quietly reveals everything about Aemond's fears, his desires, and, perhaps, his future. Let's break it all down. The first thing we need to understand is where this dream happens: Harrenhal. This isn't just another castle. For centuries, Harrenhal has been surrounded by stories of curses, ghosts, prophetic dreams, and psychological torment. It almost behaves like a living character. Everyone who spends enough time there seems forced to confront something hidden inside themselves. Daemon experienced terrifying visions. Now, it's Aemond's turn. Whether the castle is truly magical, or whether it simply forces buried emotions to surface, the result is always the same. Nobody leaves Harrenhal exactly the way they arrived. When Aemond reaches Harrenhal, he's already emotionally exhausted. He's carrying enormous pressure. He's fighting an increasingly brutal war. He's become isolated from his own family. Even Alicent, the one person whose approval mattered most, no longer looks at him the same way. On the outside, Aemond appears fearless. Inside, he's carrying wounds no sword could ever create. That's why Harrenhal becomes the perfect place for his subconscious to finally break through. Then comes the dream itself. Alys Rivers is there. Everything feels strangely peaceful. Then suddenly, her face changes. She becomes Alicent, the woman who raised him, the woman whose approval he's chased his entire life. Why? Because this vision isn't about romance. It's about emotional vulnerability. Alicent represents safety, acceptance, childhood, the unconditional love Aemond always hoped to earn. Deep inside, no matter how powerful he becomes, part of him is still that lonely boy who claimed Vhagar, hoping his mother would finally be proud of him. That's why Alys doesn't stay herself. Because Alys could resist Alys, he cannot easily resist Alicent. But perhaps the most mysterious moment comes next. Alys, or Alicent, leans toward him and quietly says, "I will give you a son." It's one of the most fascinating lines in the entire episode. What does it actually mean? The show doesn't tell us. Instead, it invites us to think. The first possibility is legacy. Throughout the series, Aemond has always lived in someone else's shadow. First Aegon, then Viserys, then the expectations placed upon House Targaryen. Despite becoming one of the realm's greatest warriors, he still has no heir, no child, no future carrying his name forward. For someone obsessed with proving himself, the promise of a son is incredibly powerful. It means his bloodline continues, his name survives, his legacy lives on long after he's gone. For a prince who constantly fears being overlooked, that promise is almost irresistible. Another possibility is prophecy. Alys Rivers has repeatedly shown knowledge she shouldn't possess. She speaks as though she already knows what lies ahead. She predicts events. She understands people before they understand themselves. That makes many viewers wonder, Is "I will give you a son" actually a promise, or is it a glimpse of something that hasn't happened yet? Perhaps Alys isn't making the future. Perhaps she's simply revealing a future she has already seen. The episode deliberately leaves that question unanswered. Then there's a third interpretation: temptation. Notice that Alys doesn't promise Aemond victory. She doesn't promise the Iron Throne. She doesn't promise to defeat Daemon. Instead, she offers something far more personal: a family, an heir, a future beyond war. In other words, she offers him exactly what he's never had: a chance to build something lasting. Whether that's genuine affection or careful manipulation is impossible to know, but it's exactly the kind of promise that could influence someone already carrying so much emotional pain. That leads us to another huge question. Is Alys Rivers manipulating Aemond? The evidence is certainly intriguing. Throughout the season, she never forces Aemond to make decisions. Instead, she gently guides him. She asks questions, shows him visions, makes him confront emotions he spent years suppressing. Whether that's manipulation or simply helping him discover uncomfortable truths depends entirely on how you interpret her character. Some viewers believe she genuinely cares for Aemond. Others think she's slowly guiding him toward a destiny he doesn't yet understand. And perhaps both things could be true. What's undeniable is that Alys understands Aemond better than almost anyone else. She sees beyond the fearless warrior, beyond the rider of Vagar. She sees the frightened child still searching for approval. That's why her influence feels so powerful. She doesn't attack his strength. She reaches directly into his deepest insecurity. The dream also reveals something important about Aemond himself. For all his confidence, he's deeply lonely. He craves validation. He wants to be remembered, not simply as the prince who rode Vagar, but as someone who built a lasting legacy. The vision exposes fears he would never admit to anyone: his fear of dying alone, his fear of never being enough, his fear that history will remember everyone except him. Those emotions make him vulnerable, perhaps more vulnerable than any sword ever could. There's another fascinating detail many viewers overlooked. Throughout the dream, Aemond never questions what's happening. He accepts each impossible transformation almost immediately. That's significant. It suggests he's already drifting between reality and illusion. Whether that's because of Harrenhal, because of Alys, or because of the immense psychological burden he's carrying, the line between truth and imagination is beginning to disappear. If that continues, future decisions could become increasingly dangerous, not just for Aemond, but for everyone around him. And perhaps that's exactly what Episode 7 is trying to tell us. The greatest threat to Aemond may no longer be Daemon, or Rhaenyra, or even the war itself. It may be his own mind. Because once someone can no longer separate prophecy, memory, and reality, every choice they make becomes unpredictable. Final thoughts. So, what is the hidden meaning behind Aemond's Harrenhal dream? It's far more than a nightmare. It's a window into his soul. Alys Rivers becoming Alicent, the promise of a son, the shifting reality around him. None of it is random. Together, they expose Aemond's deepest emotional wounds: his longing for acceptance, his obsession with legacy, his fear of being forgotten, and his desperate need to believe that everything he sacrificed will mean something in the end. Whether the dream was created by ancient magic, Alys Rivers' mysterious powers, or Aemond's own fractured subconscious, the effect is the same. Harrenhal has changed him. And if Alys truly understands how to reach the darkest corners of his mind, then Aemond may become even more dangerous than before, not because he's stronger, but because he's beginning to lose the ability to tell where prophecy ends and reality begins. So, what do you think? Was Alys Rivers showing Aemond his destiny, or carefully manipulating him toward one? And what do you think the promise, "I will give you a son," really means? Let me know your theories in the comments below.